Welcome to Learning React with me. In this video, we are going to see how to create a form in React. Let's quickly create a form which has an input, a checkbox and a button. I have created a class component addUser which is not rendering anything for now except for a form tag. All styles will be coming from styles.css. Inside this, let me add some code. So I have already created a form. So this has a name, admin and a button, add user. Actually, speaking of label and input, we have two ways of binding a label to an input. First way is to write these two elements in two separate lines of code. And in that case, we specify a for attribute, and inside this we give the ID of this input so that they are bound together based on this ID. If you change the text inside this, it wouldn't be bound to this input. And the other way is to have a input element within the label like this, input. So the input will be inside the label element. This way of binding input to a label is called implicit binding, and the first way is called explicit binding. It is always important to write the label and input in an explicit way because voice assisted technologies read out labels when a user interacts with this form, while it might not be recognized when it's implicit. Now we have this checkbox admin, which determines whether the added user is an admin or a normal user. And we have this button called add user. This will be triggered and it will submit the form elements. So let me save it and let's move to the browser. So we have this card inside which we have a form element which accepts name and a checkbox which says admin or not. So when I click on this add user button, you see that the page is being refreshed, but we do not want this. So to avoid this page refresh, let's make use of an event handler and some JavaScript. So inside this form, I have an onSubmit event handler, and this is bound to the handle submit event handler method. Let me create that method here, handle submit, and this handle submit method will take a parameter event. Inside this, I'll make use of a function of event object called prevent default. And let me also console log what is inside the event object. Now when we click on this button which is of type submit, this event handler will be triggered, and we come here. The event input which we are passing here is not the event which normal HTML forms will handle. So in React we use a cross-browser wrapper called syntheticevent, which provides same functionality as the original event. However, there are a few differences between this HTML event and the synthetic event used in React, such as JavaScript. HTML event is nothing but it's a JavaScript event. So those JavaScript event handlers are in lowercase, and React event handlers will be in uppercase. For example, we have this onSubmit button. In React, it would be in camel case. So we have S in caps. And the other difference is, in JavaScript, a few events such as focus and change do not bubble up, whereas in React, all events always bubble up. Anyways, that's another topic. So for now, we have this method to prevent the page reload, which is a default functionality of the submit button. Let's move to the browser. Let me refresh, and when I click on add, it's not reloading. Let's open developer tools, inspect elements, and if we go to the console, when I clicked on this add user button, we have logged the event object. So this event object is nothing but a synthetic base event, and which has all the methods. It has a prevent default method which we used in the submit button here, and we see an error saying invalid DOM property for. Did you mean HTML for? So why is this error coming? This is because keyword for is not recognized in JSX. React elements should use a property called HTML for. Let me use the same property for checkbox as well. Save it and go to the browser. Let me refresh. Now we don't see any error here. Now we need to access data that we enter inside this mean input and this checkbox. So for that there are two ways. One, we can capture data using methods or events such as onChange on input tag or in the checkbox, or we can directly access values from the DOM. For accessing values directly from DOM, we need to understand the concept of ref, which we are going to see in our next video. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to InterviewPro.